Star Wars Unlimited Set 5 Legends of the Force preview season has officially begun as of last week. In fact, it started pretty much right on Star Wars Day, May 4th, which if I remember correctly was a Sunday. Lots of interesting stuff coming out, including reinforcing the reason why it's called Legends of the Force. So, HARK! We are here. It is time for yet another episode of preview coverage for Star Wars Unlimited. We've talked a bit before about not covering everything. We're still going to do the same thing, but there's a lot of really cool stuff in this episode this week. So let's get started on our first leader covered this week, and it's a surprise. On May 4th, FFG graced us with our 5th leader preview for Star Wars Unlimited Set 5 Legends of the Force. And like I said before, reinforced the reason why it's called Legends of the Force. I didn't think this was going to happen this early, specifically because we know they said they had access to all eras of Star Wars, but we figured that they would really reinforce the Disney stuff before they went into any of the old canon. And they came out guns blazing early on with Set 5 by granting us Darth Revan, Scourge of the Old Republic. Darth Revan is a villainy-only leader, Force and Sith traits. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an experience token to that friendly unit. And then, for 5 epic action resource flip, he turns into a 3/6 leader. This is number 17 out of 264, a rare. The flip side of it gives you a 3/6 Force Sith leader, Darth Revan, ground unit, yada yada. Restore 1. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may give an experience token to that friendly unit. So Darth Revan's whole goal is to beat people up, and that's incredible. Now, we do know that there's going to be 15 cards in this set that are Legends cards. We've already had all of them spoiled. There will be a link to that article that spoiled all of them in the description below. We're not going to go over everything, but we're going to go over some interesting stuff, including what I think is going to be the basis of potentially the best Darth Revan deck you can come up with. But Revan, basically for free, as long as your unit defeats another enemy unit, or defeats a unit, I guess, attacks and defeats a unit, you can give an experience token to the unit that defeated a unit during that attack. Then with Revan's leader unit side, he can do it for himself if he can defeat a unit, which was something we're going to see here in just a second is very possible, but it's also a more than once per turn effect because it happens every single time. This is one of those things because the cost is so heavy on defeating a unit, you can actually have it activate multiple times and not cause a problem with the way that the game is balanced. We do have Darth Revan, Scourge of the Old Republic, and what's better than Darth Revan? Darth Revan's lightsabers. 2-cost villainy upgrade attached to a non-vehicle unit. If the attached unit is Sith, it gains grit. +2/+2. This is a rare number 238 out of 264 in LOF. Stick this on to Revan and he's going to be able to kill anything and everything in his path so long as he is not just flat out defeated by a rival's fall or whatever the case may be. Really cool Revan sabers. I like the fact that they work for Sith, not just Revan, because there's some other Sith that we're going to see here in just a minute that are going to benefit greatly from this and also be able to have benefits with the +2/+2 and the grit. So love it. Love the fact that we get the red lightsaber and the purple lightsaber. That's always been one of my favorite defining factors about Revan is the red and purple blades, which we saw in Knights of the Republic 1. One thing to note specifically about these cards is that there is a label here on the bottom. It's a gold bar with a gold L in the center. That does designate Legends for cards that happen in Star Wars Unlimited and are specifically described as non-canon. So this stuff being in an FFG game does not canonize it, just like Victor Squadron is not a canonized thing because FFG printed it. This is just designating that it is Legends. Speaking of Legends, we have here Darth Malak. I do apologize for the tiny images here. They're directly from the database. They were not spoiled in the manner that we've normally seen stuff spoiled from. So we're working with what we've got. We've got a 5-cost villainy-only Covetous Apprentice, 4 power, 7 health. So actually a pretty good leader chunk of stats here that you would normally see on 6. He's got Overwhelm, and when played, if you control a Sith leader unit, you may ready this unit. So you theoretically could flip Revan, play Malak, have Malak destroy something, get an XP token, have Revan destroy another thing to get an XP token, and then on your next turn, attach Revan's lightsabers to one of these two guys. This is a legendary, number 234 out of 264 in Legends of the Force. Fantastic Darth Malik here. Love seeing the boy here. We do have one other villainy style unique unit that's going to be coming up, which we'll talk about in just a second. A card that we did see earlier that I talked a little bit about, but not too much about. We have the full base arc for Darth Tyrannus, Servant of Sidious, 4-cost villainy only ground unit, 4 power, 3 health, Force, Separatist, and Sith. He's got shielded, so he comes into play with a shield. While the Force is with you, this unit gains ambush, and this is number 231 out of 264 S rarity, which means he probably comes with the Darth Maul Spotlight deck. Gotta remember to get the names correct because there's so many different names. This is a very interesting thing. It's Sith, so you can detach Darth Revan's lightsabers onto him. You're not really gonna get too much value out of the grit with that 3 health, but a 6-cost, 6/5, not terrible. Shielded means he can defeat something, get the experience token from Revan, and still be able to continue doing extra damage. And if you are running one of the Force bases as your colored base with Revan, which would give you a colored aspect to combine with his villainy morality aspect, you can then add the Forces with you, gain the Force in whatever manner you choose, and then ambush with this to potentially get that experience token if that's how you're doing it. Speaking of how Darth Revan wants to work, there are different ways that you can put things together. You do really want to stack up Sith because you have these lightsabers, but if let's say you ignore it, you do have lots of options of what's capable combined with Darth Revan's ability. You can throw ECL in there with Darth Revan and go green villainy to be able to add things like your ambushing cards that you want to use with ECL, or cards that can gain ambush with ECL. Timely Intervention is great. Overwhelming Barrage is pretty good. You can go yellow with a lot of your attack events to be able to get extra damage out with these the Revan abilities, and if you can somehow give your stuff Overwhelm, that's pretty cool. You can go blue to lean a little bit more towards control, being able to use things like Out the Airlock, no glory only results, and the new Force Siphon, I think is what it was called, where you can deal 2 damage and gain the Force, do cool things like that. But I personally think that Darth Revan Red is where it's going to be at. And the reason why is because of these 2 cards here. First, we have HK47 exclamation die meatbag. This is a 2-cost aggression villainy ground unit, 2 power, 4 health, Sith droid traits. When an enemy is defeated, deal 1 damage to its controller's base. This is number 130 out of 264, a legendary in LOF. Revan wants you to be defeating units, so HK47 says, hey, while you're defeating units and gaining experience tokens, we're going to deal damage to its controller's base. That's pretty good. This is also a great Twin Suns card because you can do it to any of your opponents who's controlled that enemy unit. So you can even throw the lightsaber onto HK47 and it gets that grit because it's a Sith. It says Sith, not Jedi, not Force, not Revan, Sith. This is a Sith droid. And then the other card is Death Field. This is a 4-cost aggression villainy Force event. Deal 2 damage to each non-vehicle enemy units. If you control a Force unit, you get to draw a card, so it replaces itself. This is a rare number 141 out of 264 in LOF. Combine Death Field with HK47, you're dealing a ton of damage to your opponent's base if your opponent loses a lot of units as a result of the Death Field. And then you can attack with something to be able to get the token. Lots of different shenanigans that are available there. I think Darth Revan has a lot of interesting stuff to him, even if his stat line is a little underwhelming. If he can defeat something, he can still be a 4/7 on 5 if he doesn't take any damage back. Otherwise, it's lower health if he does take damage back. There is some interesting things here with Darth Revan. And in terms of interesting things here with Darth Revan, Roll On Gaming over on their YouTube channel did a video, Kevin from Roll On Gaming, did a video talking about the different combinations that can work with Darth Revan. It's a great video. You should go check it out. Link in the description below. Lots of fun stuff here with Darth Revan and our first Legends batch of cards. But this is just the villainy side. What about heroism? In Knights of the Republic, the very old BioWare video game, which is a fantastic game, hopefully the remake comes out here in the next lifetime of mine, you start out as either a scout, a soldier, or a scoundrel, which were 3 of the original base classes for the D20 Wizards of the Coast Star Wars role-playing game. But as you progress through, you find out you're Force sensitive. So you get the opportunity to train into either Jedi Guardian, Jedi Sentinel, or Jedi Consular. 3 classes that do different things based upon what they are. And we would be remiss if we didn't have that representation in Star Wars Unlimited. Well, the developers managed to pull off not 3, but 4 generic Jedi characters that can be really cool running in your heroism decks. And we're going to start with the Jedi Guardian. This is a 5-cost Vigilance Heroism ground unit. 4 power, 8 health, Force Jedi traits. While this unit is defending, it's +2/+0, very similar to the Concord Dawn Interceptors. This is number 49 out of 264, a common in LOF. This is a basic decent draft card. It does represent what you need in the Force. If you can give this Sentinel, it's going to be defending pretty well. Otherwise, your opponent's not really going to attack this. They're just going to try to take it out in a different manner. It is a Force unit, so with the Force bases, you can generate the Force on your attacks. It's chunky. It does live up to the Vigilance's Blue's big butt philosophy. But in terms of its viability, it's not that great, but it is a pretty cool card. Next up, we have the Jedi Sentinel. This is a 4-cost Cunning Heroism ground unit. 5 power, 4 health, Force Jedi traits. While the Force is with you, this unit gains Sentinel. Haha, that's a funny joke. This is a common number 196 out of 264 in LOF. This represents it's a Jedi Sentinel, which is more scout-based than it is defensive-based. Technically, the Guardian is supposed to be defensive-based, but because it is a Jedi Sentinel, they went with the joke and gave it Sentinel conditionally if you have the Force with you, which realistically you should if you're playing this. It's a common, it's an easy Force user that's going to be able to get you the Force. You can attack with it if you have your Force user base, get the Force, and then it's got Sentinel and your opponent's got to deal with it, and probably lose the unit on the clackback because that 5 power is going to be pretty handy. Next up, we have the Jedi Consular, the cheaper of the units that we have available. 2-cost Command Heroism ground units, 1 power, 4 health, Force Jedi traits. Action, exhaust this unit, use the Force. You may play a unit from your hand. It costs 2 less. So this is your resource reducer. This is a common number 94 out of 264 in LOF. The idea that the Consular is helping other people move forward is exactly what the Consular does, and most of the things that the Consular is available in, whether it's Knights of the Republic, Star Wars The Old Republic, or any of the tabletop role-playing games. The Consular is the I aid everybody else class, and that's pretty much what this does. Being able to reduce the cost of your units from hand once per turn, spending your Force token, and also spending the action available to the Consular. Pretty good. Gets you that Force multiplier of being able to bring out units for cheaper, and that's pretty good. Last, we have the Jedi Knight, just a basic Jedi Knight. 3-cost Aggression Heroism ground unit, 3 power, 3 health, Force Jedi traits. When played, if you have the initiative, deal 2 damage to an enemy ground unit. Another common, number 145 out of 264 in LOF. It's a basic 3-cost 3/3. We've seen these before, although mostly on single aspect units. This is a double, and the reason why that's okay is because it has the when played, if you have the initiative, deal 2 damage to an enemy ground unit. So technically, you can, on a previous round, take the initiative, and then on the next round, play the Jedi Knight while you have that initiative and be able to deal the damage to your opponent's ground units. The Knight coming in, basically doing its attack, and then backing out as a result. Lots of interesting stuff here for these. These are all cheap, easy to use, cheapish, easy to use Jedi units, Force units that can gain you the Force and then do things either as a result of the Force or specifically the purpose of them is to just gain the Force, like the Sentinel and the Jedi Knight. Interesting stuff, lots of cool, neat little Legends things here. They are included in that 15 count, so we're not going to see any more after this article from this set, but they did say we potentially could see more Legends units in future set, and I'm campaigning for Dash Rendar, Talon Card, Mara Jade, Galen Merrick, Kyle Katarn, all the cool fun characters we've seen from previous Prince Izor, Shizor, whatever you want to call him. Lots of fun stuff coming from Legends of the Force, the original EU that most of us grew up with in our Star Wars fandoms. Next up, we have a block here of previews from content creators out here on the internet, not always on YouTube. We've got previews here from the Jodo Cast and Porg Depot. Link in the description below to both of those. Jodo Cast is a video, Porg Depot is an article. Let's get right on to what these are and what they potentially represent. From the Jodo Cast, we have here Luke Skywalker, A Hero's Beginning, a 4-cost heroism ground unit, 3 power, 5 health, Force and fringe traits. When you play another unique unit, you may use the Force. If you do, give an experience token and shield token to this unit. This is a rare number 249 out of 264 in LOF. This is a fantastic card because it is a Force multiplier that you use with your unique units that you're going to want to be playing. A lot of Force units are unique units because they're named Jedi, they're named Sith, so on and so forth. So Luke Skywalker working in those abilities to be able to, if you play Luke Skywalker, and then on another round, if you have the Force, you can play a unique unit, use the Force, give him an experience token and a shield token, and then attack. This is going to be a 4/6 with a shield. He can knock out one of your opponent's units, deal some extra damage damage to your opponent's leader, or just straight threaten the base with that 4 damage, that could keep getting bigger and bigger as long as you have the ability to play more unique units and gain the force. And because he is a force unit himself, as long as he can attack at least once per turn, you can get that force back after spending it, because you're likely going to want to spend it to get the experience token and the shield token, then attack to get the force back if you're using the force base. I think this is a really good unit. This is probably going to see a fair amount of play in force-centric strategies for heroism, because he's an easy to play unit. He's not going to die super quickly. Yes, he can die to choke and take down on things like that, but there are maybe other things your opponent needs to worry about before this thing gets super built. It also is one of those strategies of just make your opponent have the removal, because if they don't, much like Page Tico and vehicles, it can get out of hand pretty quickly. Next up from Porg Depot, we've got Malakili. This is a 2-cost cunning ground unit. Loving Rancor Keeper. 1 power, 4 health underworld trait. The first creature traded unit you play each phase costs 1 less. If a friendly creature unit would deal damage to a friendly unit, prevent that damage. This protects you a little bit from those Rancor things that deal damage to a bunch of your other stuff. This is a rare number 108 out of 264 in LOF. Creature support. We're going to see here in a minute why that's important. And then we got Curious Flock. Remember that Porg we saw, that one cost 1/1 Porg? Well, here is a 1 cost 1/1 Porg that could potentially be a 7 cost 7/7 Porg, because when played, pay up to 6 resources. For each resource paid this way, give an experience token to this unit. This is a common number 255 out of 264 in LOF, aspectless, so it can run in any deck. It is a creature, so you have a variable amount between 1 and 7 resources to pay to bring this out as basically a cost XX equal to cost units that can do some interesting stuff so long as you have access to that when played. Look, I like Porgs. I don't know. This doesn't inspire a lot of greatness in me, but who knows? Someone will use a creature deck. There's a creature leader coming up, we'll see here in just a minute, that could utilize this very well. And because it is variable, it fits in that 1 slot 1/1, but also 2 slot 2/2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 7. There is some interesting stuff you can do with Curious Flock in order to be able to give yourself some advantage. Not sure how good it's going to be, but if it's good, someone will showcase why it's good. Next up, something I didn't expect to see so quickly. This is going to tie in with the Jodo cast preview as well. We got more Spectre support, which I'm super happy with. And the way that this is built, I was originally annoyed at it at first, but this could potentially be one of the first decks to be designed with rotation in mind when it comes to Star Wars Unlimited. So we're going to start with a unit, then we're going to take a look at a leader, then we're going to take a look at another unit that ties in with everything that we've just seen so far with this batch. So we have here Ezra Bridger, Attuned with Life. This is a 3-cost Vigilance Heroism ground unit, 3 power, 5 health, Force, Jedi, Rebel, and Spectre traits. On attack, you may give an experience token to another creature or Spectre unit. This is an uncommon number 46 out of 264 in Legends of the Force LOF. This is a great 3-drop. This is a great 3-drop Blue Rebel. This is a great 3-drop Force unit. This is a great 3-drop Spectre. This is a great 3-drop Jedi. If you're just playing Force-based stuff to be able to generate the Force, and you have a couple of creatures or Spectres in your deck, this is a great unit to be able to play because it's a 3-cost 3/5. If you're throwing it in Hera, you have the ability to get a 3-cost 3/5 into play, which is a pretty good stat line. And again, aligns with Vigilance Blue's big butt theory. But it's just one of those things that gives you a little bit of extra strategy that can help protect some of your other stuff, giving it experience tokens, making it less viable, less targetable by damage, less removable by things that say X health or less, so on and so forth. I like this unit a lot. I think it's very good. My only problem is that it's kind of stuck in a cost that has a lot of units that already exist in it. We've got the 3-cost Ezra, the yellow one from the first set that I previewed back in Spark of Rebellion. We have the 3-cost Sabine's Masterpiece. We have the 3-cost Phantom, and now we have a 3-cost Ezra Bridger. So you're gonna have to really figure out, if you're playing Hera, how many of these things you're going to be running. Plus, you've also got Fleet Lieutenant. You've got the Wing Leader, things that you want to be running as a Rebel strategy in 3-cost. There's just so much stuff here that you kind of have to pare down what you're actually going to be running. But if you're not playing Hera, you might want to be playing Kanan Jarrus, Help Us Survive. This is our one of our Vigilance Heroism leaders. Same traits, Force, Jedi, Rebel, Spectre. As an action, you can pay 1 resource and exhaust the leader to give a shield token to a creature or Spectre unit. As a 6 cost epic action flip, you can deploy this leader into a 3/6, which presents shielded, so it's a 3/6 shield on 6. And while you control another creature or Spectre unit, this unit gets +2/+2. So theoretically, if you have a Spectre unit on 5 and it survives into your 6 flip, Kanan Jarrus can come out as a 5/8 with a shield. And again, as long as your stuff survives, i.e. no one interacts with your board, you can attack with that 5/8 to do whatever you want with it. This is number 4, a rare, out of 264 in LOF. I didn't like this leader initially. I like it because it's a Spectre. I like it because it's Kanan. I'm a big fan of Spectres, Rebel, all that other stuff. But I didn't really think of this as something that Spectres needed, because obviously it's a different leader. But post-rotation, when we only have sets 4, 5, 6, and 7, once set 7 comes out, we won't have Hera or the old Ezra or the old Sabines or the old Kanan or anything like that. So we'll have to build a new Spectre deck. And realistically, with the resources we got from the Hera pilot, Sabine's Masterpiece, Phantom, and the Ghost in set 4, the last set, throwing all of that, which is either blue or heroism, into Kanan Jarrus really does give you a solid base of stuff to work with. And we know there's a chopper, an aggression chopper, coming in Secrets of Power because of the convention exclusives. So there is some interesting work you can do with this Kanan Jarrus, especially considering the fact that Ezra Bridger works on the same traits, Creature and Spectre. From Jodo cast, we have the Attuned Frynok. This is a 2-cost aggression heroism ground units, 4 power, 1 health. Creature. It has Hidden. This unit cannot be attacked. If it was played this phase. This is a common, number 143 out of 264 in LOF. So you can give an experience token to this with Ezra. You can give a shield to it with Kanan. There's a lot of stuff you can do to protect it. It does only have 1 health, so it does need that shield protection. But if you can get the attack out with this thing, 4 damage for 2 resources the turn after it comes out, the round after it comes out, is going to be pretty solid. Tower number 9 over on his YouTube channel went over a video talking about a Kanan Jarrus red build, which I was actually going to do myself, but turns out he got to it before me. So go check out that video, link in the description below. Kanan red is actually where I was thinking of as well, because there are a lot of interesting creatures, and then you still have the ability before rotation happens to use the 2-cost Sabine that is out there, and you have access to Karabast if you really need those, which you might be able to work with some of these shield and experience tokens you're getting from here. But for me personally, this Ezra Bridger is going to slot right into Hera, and I'm going to have to figure out exactly how all that works together, because that 3-cost slot is pretty stuffed. But from a originally underwhelming concept of a leader to, this might actually be an interesting deck to work with and potentially work forward with, especially working with creatures we've had before and creatures we might get in the future, Spectres we've had before, Spectres we might get in the future. Some interesting stuff moving forward with Kanan Jarrus and all the stuff moving forward. And, you know, interesting is better than bad. Let's work on what this might actually do for us. Today reminds me why I record on Saturdays and not on Fridays, but I had free time available on Friday as of recording and not Saturday, because summer is almost here, but spring is here, and it's spring cleaning here at HQ Ryback. We have 2 previews coming by way of Outmaneuver, link to their video in the description below. We've got an event. We've got a very interesting unit. Let's start with the event. We have here Mind Trick. It's a 2-cost Cunning Heroism Force Trick event. Exhaust any number of units with a combined power of 4 or less. If you control a force unit, those units lose all abilities and can't gain abilities for this phase. This is a rare, number 202 out of 264. Very interesting design here. The idea is that you want to take a lot of little units, or potentially 1 leader that's got 4 power or less, to be able to knock them out for the turn. And then if they've got any persistent effects or anything that's on when defeated, stuff like that, you get to knock those out if you control a force unit. So this is a pretty interesting control piece for heroism, but it doesn't permanently get rid of anything and requires you to combo with other cards to be maximum level effectiveness, where sometimes the villainy stuff we get, it's just do a thing and you're now in the lead. The unit is going to be Anakin Skywalker, Champion of Mortis. Love the subtitle here. Love the fact that it references one of my favorite arcs in Clone Wars. 6-cost Vigilance ground unit, 5 power, 7 health, Force, Jedi, Republic traits. When played, if there's a Heroism card in your discard pile, you may give a unit -3/-3 for this phase. When played, if there is a villainy card in your discard pile, you may give a unit -3/-3 for this phase. This is a legendary, number 70 out of 264 in LOF. Lots of legendaries early on, which is fairly interesting. The next card we'll see is a legendary. A couple of cards you've already seen, Malik, HK47, also legendaries. Lots of stuff coming down the road here. Anakin Skywalker here is one of those designs you get in a deck that you build the entire deck around. Now, right now, the only viable leader that can run both sets of cards without punishing themselves too much is going to be Chancellor Palpatine from Twilight of the Republic, because he's got that heroism front, villainy back. That's thematic with the fact that both Palpatine and Sidious are kind of influencing Anakin to do different things, and you can try to work that as best you can into Anakin, and because Anakin does not have heroism or villainy himself, he won't cost you extra regardless of which side he's on, so long as you're playing Chancellor Palpatine with a blue base. So this is a very cool design. A 5/7 on 6 is a little beefy, but not necessarily as powerful, but those when played can allow you to knock out, if you fulfill all the conditions, they can allow you to knock out 2 3 health units, or knock out 1 6 or less health units, or potentially set up, if there's something even bigger, make it so that you can attack into it without taking too much damage back by giving that one unit -6/-6, leaving it hopefully at low HP, but also 0 power, so you don't take any damage on the crack pack. Great card here. It's a legendary. Bunch of these legendaries are looked to be popular cards, so they're probably going to be upwards in cost a little bit. Thankfully, the Carbonite packs coming out of this next set should give a lot of variety for what's going to be available for legendaries. So basic legendaries should be cheaper, foil legendaries will definitely be cheaper, and hopefully everybody can get the cards they need moving forward. The last preview I'm going to be covering this week, there's lots of other things that have been previewed, but none of them have been really too important to showcase. You can check all of them out over on swdb.com or the main Star Wars Unlimited database. But the last preview I'm going to cover personally today is going to be this constructed lightsaber. This is a 3-cost aspectless upgrade. It attaches to a Force unit specifically, so it does have to actually have that trait to be attached to it. If the attached unit is a heroism unit, it gains Restore 2. If the attached unit is a villainy unit, it gains Raid 2. If the attached unit is neither heroism nor villainy, it gains Sentinel. This gives +2 power, +3 health, item, weapon, lightsaber traits. This is a legendary, number 261 out of 264 in LOF. This is actually a fun upgrade that's going to be very useful for those Force decks, because you're going to have a lot of heroism Force units, you're going to have a lot of villainy Force units, but you're also going to have a couple of Force units like Guardian of the Wills who don't have a morality aspect and can get something extra to it, which, by the way, Guardians of the Will reduces the cost of this. You have the ability to do some interesting stuff. This is not necessarily as good as our normal 3-cost +3/+3 lightsabers that we've had, like the Jedi Lightsaber, General's Blade, and Fallen Lightsaber, but the utility that this grants you is actually quite good. My one disappointment is that it's a legendary. Not saying that I wouldn't want to pull this as a legendary, although I don't know that I would want to pull this as a legendary, kind of like Death Star plans, maybe once. But if this was an uncommon, this would actually be a very fun limited card, because you would see it more often than once every like 5 boxes, right? Because it is a legendary. You're not going to use this as a backup for any type of strategy. You're not going to count on trying to get this because of the fact that it's not going to be seen as often. If it were an uncommon, it probably wouldn't have as many words on it. But if it were an uncommon, you could utilize this with all of these cool Force units you're going to be drafting and playing in your sealed pools and pre-release pools to be able to do some cool stuff. So this might be one of those limited bombs that if it does show up, you're going to wreck face with, because it is very strong. We're likely not going to see a lot of upgrade removal in draft, in sealed, but there's also that expectation that you're not going to be seeing this as often as you would other things that are a lot more reliable. So this is a fun card. I think it's going to be fun in fun decks. And that's what makes it the most interesting to me, but probably not going to see a lot of competitive play when it comes to what a lightsaber wants to do. Although, throw it on a villainy unit. Throw this in Revan so you can get those extra raids out with all of your villainy units. Who knows what you're going to be able to get up to with this thing. So there you have it, preview season moving ever on. We've got a cool Revan leader with a lot of potential and possibility. We've got a cool Kanan Jarrus leader with a lot of potential and possibility. We're going to see more creatures. We're probably going to see some more Spectres. I really do hope we can get a Fulcrum Ahsoka in this set. That would be super fantastic. Give it that Spectre labeling. I know it doesn't technically work, but she's as much a Spectre as any of the rest of them. There's lots of Force stuff coming. There's lots of creature stuff coming. Hopefully some more Spectres coming as well. And as we inch ever closer to rotation we kind of have to consider what's going to be super viable post-rotation here in basically a year, and what we're going to be losing when it comes to losing out on sets 1 through 3. But that's for a later time. Right now, we've got Legends of the Force moving on. Lots of cool stuff. Like I said, I want to see the top Legends character I want to see, Galen Merrick, Vader's Secret Apprentice, my literal all-time favorite Star Wars character. I want him to be busted in half. Just have him come out and just annihilate everything. I know that doesn't make sense for a competitive card game, but you know what? Star Wars Limited doesn't need to be a competitive card game. Like this video, comment down below what your favorite Legends character is, what you're expecting for Legends going forward in Star Wars Unlimited now that we know that Legends is available. Let me know what you think of Revan, let me know what you think of Kanan Jarrus, what decks you potentially are looking at building with what we've seen so far, and what you expect to see continuing as we move on in preview season of Legends of the Force. Subscribe to the Star Wars Unlimited channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. Thank you for joining me, folks. I appreciate you, each and every one of you, each and every time. I will see you in the next one, and I will see you in the stars.